Welcome back, Short Kings. Today we're going to be talking about the backlog and how I tackle my own backlog and how I've been doing it the whole time. And I wish I could tell you that it looks like this and it's all pretty and everything, but it is not. It is not a pretty sight. In fact, it looks like this. This is my Excel spreadsheet, and it's how I have been keeping track of all the games I've been playing and all the games I have yet to play. It's a crazy little system, but it works for me. I even have a little legend. I'm going to explain everything as we go on. I even made a little chart here that gets auto-updated when you beat your games, which you can fill with your own games. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you some prettier solutions if you don't want to do it the 1990s way. So websites do exist where you can make this look all pretty, and you can access them from your phone at any time, and I will go over that near the end of the video. I will even share with you my personal collection of all the short games, so you can access my Excel spreadsheet, but in a much more pleasant way, I guess. I'm going to make this list public so you can keep track and build your own gaming backlog list. So if you have a way of tracking your own progress, good for you. Let us know how you did it. This is just the way that I'm doing it right now, and hopefully I'll move to a much prettier system. So let's get started right away with my Excel spreadsheet. Let's talk about how we actually get this all done. I know many of you are interested in the Excel spreadsheet because if you type in on YouTube good games and PS Plus, you'll get my video. Wow, it's at 95K. So let's click on that video for a second. All right, so this video had an Excel spreadsheet and it talked about it a lot. And 95K later, you guys are still asking for it. Look, I had a spreadsheet including all the games and the runtimes, and you guys went nuts. Can we get a link to the spreadsheet? Can you update the spreadsheet? Banger, been looking for a spreadsheet like this for ages. Hey bro, do you mind sharing your spreadsheet with me? Can we have a link to the spreadsheet? Link to the spreadsheet. Can you provide a link to your Excel sheet? Can you share the Excel file? Great video. Would you consider and include the gameplay hours like you did in Excel? Hopefully that proves that you guys do love spreadsheets, so you're not going to be too bored when I show you guys my spreadsheet. This is my personal spreadsheet, so we're going to talk about it right now. All right, so let's explain it real quick. Okay, so these are all my short games, and you're probably wondering what all the colors mean. So let's go to the legend really quick so we can explain it. All right, let's get into the legend. So basically, this is the default. So the default for every game is just standard white on black. This is my color coding legend, okay? If I'm playing a game, it's this color. It's blue with white font. If I beat it, I put this like platinum color on it. Originally, I was using this color just for platinums, which I totally recommend. But after a while, this became the color of any game I beat. And green is indicative of quality, so anything green is 80 plus. It's basically like a must play. Everyone loves it, critics and users. Yellow is leaving soon, which is very important. And then we got some co-op games that I'm playing with a girlfriend. So let's go back up to all the games. So let's talk about the columns and rows over here. These are the games. So this is the title of the game. This information we have from HowLongToBeat. So on HowLongToBeat.com, if you've never been, it will tell you information about the runtime of every single game. And it splits it into 3 different categories. So first we have the category of the main story. And the main story is just stick to the main story, just like it said. So if you're playing a big open world game, it's avoid every single distraction. Do not do side quests. Do not do collectibles. Do not get lost. Follow a walkthrough and do exactly what you've been told. And this is like the fastest time you could potentially beat this game, okay? So it will say 3 hours, but it's probably going to be more like 4 hours. Like add an extra 20% or something like that. And if it's like 60 hours, maybe it's going to take you 70 or 80 hours. If you're the type of gamer who's going to explore a lot. And then the next category is called main plus extra. So again, if you're playing like a Ubisoft game or something like that, this is beating the main story as well as doing every little side mission and helping every NPC. And then we got the Completionist. This is the platinum or whatever you guys call it on your system. This is the Completionist run. This is doing the main story, doing all the NPC stuff and collecting every collectible. And on top of this, doing things for the trophies. Different platinums exist in different categories. You know what that is, okay? So for this, it's an extreme example, okay? This game goes from 3 hours to 20 hours. And why is that? Well, because there's a bunch of characters. I think there's like 6 characters, maybe 10 characters. I don't know. Let's see. There's the Turtles. There's Casey Jones. There's April. There's Splinter. What is that? Like 7? I don't know if there's any more. Basically, as you're playing this game, you're going to be leveling up your character. So you have a choice to level up your character all the way to level 10. And that's fine. But this 19 hours means you got to level up every single character to level 10. So that's where this huge number comes in. Usually games are not that bad. As I go to Tetris, it goes from 3 hours to 58 hours. This is another example, okay? So the main story is only about 6 hours. And if you kind of get lost and wander, it's about 7 hours. Not too bad. But the problem with these games is there are multiple endings depending on your choices. So the 17 hours means you have to see every single ending. So you got to multiply this playthrough by almost 3 times. Let's do one more. And then we have perfect games like this. The Gardens Between. Main story, 2.5 hours. Main and extra, 2.5 hours. Completionist, 2.5 hours. This is in fact the easiest platinum you're probably going to get on PlayStation. Once you beat the main game and there's not much else to distract you, the cleanup will take you minutes. Like there's just one tiny thing you have to do at the end of every single level that will take like 10 seconds. And those are the only missable trophies. But they're not really missable because you could replay any level in any order you want. So that's why these numbers fluctuate so much. Sometimes the main story and completionist are close and sometimes they're really far. And you could tell they're far when it's like a high score. Like look at this. Look at Res Infinite. It goes from 2 hours to 20 hours. 10 times the content, but is it really? It's the same content. You just have to play it over and over again to try to get a better score. And then you have games like this, Spider-Man Miles Morales, a great game, one of the best looking short games, and you could technically beat it in 7.5 hours. But sure, there's lots of extra stuff to do and little crimes to solve, but this 18 hours comes from New Game Plus. Yes, for the platinum, you have to play the game all over again from start to finish. And that's why these hours seem padded. But the nice thing about this is check this out. So if I go into the game, it will give me all the information you just got. So it's got the main story, the main and side, and completionist. But the best part is when we go down here. So when we go down here, we get to see the averages. Listen, we know we said it's about 7.5 hours to beat this game, but that was the average, okay? So let's see the real stats. So the real stats are here, and this is where you decide what kind of a player you are. So if you rush it and you know what you're doing, you can knock 2 hours off that 7.5 and beat it in 5 hours. Or if you really like to take your time and immerse yourself in the game, now we're looking at 11 hours. And that makes a huge difference. So when we're looking at these hours, take that into consideration. This is an average, okay? So sometimes it will say 7, but it will take you 10. Or sometimes it will say 10 and you beat it in 9. It all depends on your play style. And if we want to get really extreme, we go down here and we have speed run. So people were able to beat this in less than 4 hours. Wow, good job. All right, so back to the list. So those two numbers right here, can I go closer? There we go. So those two numbers are from How Long to Beat. So let's just put this right here. Hopefully that explains where these things are coming from. Let's just color code them. So these two columns are rushed hours and completionist hours. So for every single game, what I have to do is I have to go to How Long to Beat. I'll search for the game and it says A Hat in Time, 9.5 hours and 18.5 hours. And I go back and I put it in here. A Hat in Time, 9.5 hours, 18.5 hours. So let's just put the 18.5. And that explains all the columns. So this entire column, that number, that's where it comes from. Rushed hours, completionist hours. And sometimes it's not very accurate. Like for example, Dredge, I play Dredge and it says 18 hours for completionist hours. There's notes over here. So I said, took 30 hours, lies. So before we get ahead of ourselves, we're going to say genre and notes. Okay, so then let's talk about MetaCritic ratings. Okay, MetaCritic rating I've talked about a lot. So if we go to MetaCritic and we type in A Hat in Time, we can see right here it got a 79, but an 8.6. If you click on all platforms, you can see your specific platform. So I don't know why, but it has 74 on Xbox, but 79 on PS4. So since we'll play the PS4 version, we're going to use that score, the 79. And the funny thing is, if we go back, Hat in Time actually had an 80 when I first added it to this list. So now that got demoted. So that goes down to 79. And guess what? It's no longer green. So we get rid of the green now. Because remember, the green was it has to be 80 plus. So A Hat in Time just got demoted, sadly. That explains the first column, which is title. The second column, rushed hours. The third column, completionist hours. And the fourth column is MetaCritic rating. This is all you need. Everything else is extra. You don't really need it. So if you have this, there's something really cool you can do with it, and I'll explain it later. But let's go over this really quick because it shouldn't take that long, and it's kind of obvious. So over here, you can add your personal note to kind of remind you what the game was about. So let's look at Call of the Sea. So if we look at Call of the Sea, I said, it's a first-person 3D puzzler walking sim, and it was kind of slow. Biped. What was Biped about? Oh, it was a fun co-op game where each stick is each leg. Animal Well. Best short game. Platformer, challenging, fun, full of secrets. So when this list gets really huge, these kind of help. And then here, I kind of abandoned this category. This is how big the file size was for the game, but I started to not populate these areas, and I started caring less and less about it. So that's kind of like half broken. I don't really bother with it anymore. Especially since I bought the 2 terabyte of extra storage, I started caring a lot less about how big these games were. And then this is the most recent one I've been doing and keeping up with. It's my finished. So this is like if I finished it or not, because having this light blue color is great for letting me know I've beat this game, but this tells me exactly when I beat this game. This is really helpful because it helps so much when looking back to see how many games you beat this year. And then over here is a bit less accurate because a lot of the games have been there since day one. And this is the date it got added to Extra. Life is Strange 2. I can see that it was added in March of 2023. So it's probably going to leave in March of 2025. So then you can make a little, oh, that's on the chopping block. That could go soon. So the nice thing about doing it this way is the organizing. So if I go back out here and I select all the games that I have, okay, what I can do now, this is the best part of using Excel, is I can go sort range. So I'm going to say sort it by B. So now, bam, look at that. So now we could see the games, but they're lined up from shortest to longest. So I can see, okay, all these games are under 3 hours. All these games are 4 hours. So it looks really good for me because I've been on top of these short games. So this game just got added this month. So just at a glance, I could see out of all the games that are under 5 hours, Coffee Talk and Somerville are the only ones I haven't played. So that helps me really narrow my focus on what games I should play. So this was, for example, from shortest to longest with rushed hours, but you can do this with any column. For example, let's go back again. So we're going to select them all again and we're going to sort, but this time we're going to choose column D. Column D is the rating. So right now it's going to go from lowest to highest, A to Z. So we're going to switch it Z to A. I did Z and Z for my American, British, and Canadian audiences. I hope you appreciated that. So if we go to Z to A, look at this. Now these games are arranged from the highest rated to the lowest. So I try to focus on the best games on the service because, like, why waste my time with bad games? So I can tell these are all the games that are 80 plus, and the only ones I haven't played yet are Citizen Sleeper and Tearaway Unfolded. So that's the next on my backlog. I don't even look at these games. Like, they don't even cross my mind. I think of, bam, I got to play the best games first. And then I play the shortest game first. And then I get around to the other ones. Now let's talk about how to actually populate this, because this should have been step one. So let's rewind a bit. Okay, so again, if I highlight all the games, I right click, sort range, and just say A to Z. Now we are in alphabetical order, and this is going to be really helpful for the next part. All right, let's jump into PlayStation and go to PS Plus for a second. So you're probably wondering, wait, how did you populate the list in the very beginning? How did you even start this list? And I have no simple, easy answer for you. The answer is simply, I went through this entire catalog. So I went to View Games, and then what you do here is you go Sort and Filter, and then filter alphabetically from A to Z, or A to Z. And then I went through these one by one. I went through every single one. Okay, Anodyne. All right, let's double check Anodyne. So what I would do first is make sure it's a short game. So I would go to HowLongToBeat.com. So I would search for Anodyne and I would see, okay, it's 6 hours long and up to 9.5 hours. Congratulations, that qualifies it as a short game. But before I put it in, let's go to Metacritic. So you go to Metacritic and type in Anodyne. And then let's see the score, 75. Perfect. So we go back here to our little list. And perfect, there it is. Anodyne has a score score of 75, and it is from 6 to 10 hours. Perfect. And then we would go to the next one and then scroll and scroll until we go through every single game. So this is why I don't want to just give up my spreadsheet. This took a long time to put together. You can do this by yourself and follow along at home. It's really easy to do, but it just takes a lot of time to do. So if you really want it and you don't want to do the work, what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer it to my membership. So it's going to be real cheap for the bottom tier. You can just download this and customize it so your own backlog is in there. You can have your own little colorful chart. All you have to do to update is change a 0 to a 1. And the best part is we're going to update it every single month because new games are added and games are leaving constantly. And again, you don't have to go to the membership and you don't even have to use the Excel method. There are much prettier ways of doing it than looking at an Excel spreadsheet. But if you really want my Excel spreadsheet, you're going to have to become a member. I'm sorry. This took way too much work to do to just give it up for free. Which is why I'm showing you how to do it yourself in this video. Is the hour saved from doing this worth $1.99? So it's really up to you and what you value. So before we finish from my short game Excel spreadsheet, I want to talk about a few more things. You probably have a few more questions. So this is kind of like chapter 2 of this Excel spreadsheet. What if you're going through those games and they're not a short game? Well, I'm glad you asked that question because if we scroll to the right, we have our long games catalog. Ta-da! So any game that's 10 hours or above, I put in my long games. I don't care if it's 10 hours or 100 hours, it's no longer a short game. Sometimes at the end of the game, there will be a screen which will tell you how long it took you to actually beat the game. So for example, here, The Evil Within, it says it takes 15 hours to beat, but it actually took me 21 hours to beat. And I died 124 deaths. So this one, Ghost of Tsushima, very long game, 25 hours, but most people platinum it. So it takes 61 hours to platinum. Oh, look, it took me 72 hours to platinum, but that's also because I played Iki Island. On the other side, we have Disco Elysium. So it takes 23 hours to beat and 46 for the platinum. I didn't even get the platinum, and I spent 42 hours, and it didn't even feel that long. Like, I was not done with that world. Usually games drag on when you hit like 20, 25 hours, but that one I could have kept playing for a while. I might do a second run if I have the time before it leaves. So let's go down here. Okay, let's do a fresh one. Annum Mutationum, we have the runtime, but we don't have the rating. So let's go real quick to Metacritic and see what the rating was. So Annum Mutationum for the PS5, it got a 71 rating. So that means we go back to our list and just put 71 in there. And then next we have Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name, 78 on both platforms. So now we go back to short games and we put that value in. So now that says 78. Okay, so there we go. We got 2 brand new games and we could add them to the list and organize it by highlighting it all. Again, go to view more cell actions, sort range. Let's do by rating. So ratings is M, Z to A. Bam, we got God of War, best game, Celeste, best game. So now those games are in here. So there's Annum Mutationum right here. It is part of the list. So overall, I hope you can see how valuable this is. Just by the color coding alone, you're able to see really quick what games you've beat, what games you're playing, and what games are still in your backlog. Now, your backlog's probably looking a lot bigger because there's a lot of games that you added that you probably shouldn't have added. So I got a little list for that too. So I have games here that are, some are great games, but I just don't have the time for. So this is like an unofficial list called Sounds Great, but I probably won't play it or get around to it. So Demon Souls, I'd love to play it, don't have the time. Witcher 3, Gravity Rush, I even tried a bit of it, but I gave up like halfway. Eldest Souls, Outlast 2, I really tried, but I don't know, it was not for me. And then you're probably wondering about the yellow category. So let's talk about the yellow category real quick. Because here we can see that Life is Strange 2 and Life is Strange True Colors are gone. So they are no longer available. So what we're going to cut them out of here. We're going to scroll down. You know why? Because down here we have gone from extra. So if we put this at the very bottom, we can see, bam, Life is Strange and Life is Strange 2 Colors have left. So we can add it to that pile. So let's take the other ones too, put it at the very bottom. And then we go back up here and then we reorganize it. And hopefully that looks a lot cleaner when we reorganize it. So we're going to sort it again, but we're going to sort it by name. And that's it. And now it's cleaned up. But this makes it really nice because look, just at a glance, I could be like, wow, I've done like 80% of my catalog. It just makes you feel good looking at all the colors and just crossing it off with that big blue check mark, that platinum color, as I like to call it. And if you want to feel really good, you scroll down here and see how many games you've beat that have actually left. So there's quite a few games. So these games are all yellow. I didn't even try. They left. These are all the games I played before they left. So some of them were on the chopping block on last chance to play. Some of them I just managed to beat and then eventually they left. Anyway, so that's it for the Excel spreadsheet. Now we're going to talk about prettier ways of doing it. So the main reason I use an Excel spreadsheet, even though there are prettier ways to do this, is that sorting tool. Like that sorting tool helps so much. Organize them by the rating, organize them by the hours. Or my favorite, if I go here, I select them all again. This time I'm going to say sort by column G. So what that's going to do, so look at this. It's going to tell me every single game I beat and in what order. So I played this game and then this game and then this game and then this game. I played Resogun, I beat it. I played Until Dawn, I beat it. The next game I beat after that was Observer. And then one after that was Infamous First Light. And so on and so forth. So even though I'm going to tell you about prettier options, they're not as versatile as this. And I hope they will be one day. And if you find one, just let me know. So that concludes the Excel spreadsheet part of the video. The next part's going to be a lot faster because it's not as in-depth. All right, so let's jump to the pretty things. We are done with the Excel spreadsheet. So we already mentioned how useful HowLongToBeat was for checking times and everything. But what I didn't say about it is you can create your own profile and you can add games like this. Add to profile. And you could say, okay, I'm playing this on PS4 and it's in my backlog. Now, if you're currently playing it, you could click on this. If you're replaying it, you can click on this. And if you've completed it, you can click on this. So you can contribute to the overall time estimates of each game you play. And it's a nice way to look back to see how long you spent on a certain game. And just generally how you spent all your hours throughout the year. So if you create your own profile on HowLongToBeat, you can add your games. So over here, it will say, these are your current games. And I just created this profile right now. I've been using this site for years and I've never actually created my own account. So this is just for you guys because I got something special at the end. So you can click on your games. You can see what you're playing. You can see what your backlog is. It's a much prettier way than my Excel spreadsheet, but not by much. And you can see here, not only does it have the runtime, but it has your progress. So you can click on the little pencil tool and you can leave it a review and you can say exactly how long you're spending on this game. You can put in the hours, the minutes, down to the second, and you can log the date you beat it. Okay, so this is very similar to my little Excel spreadsheet, except obviously a lot prettier, but it still does take some time. So if you really want to be super focused, they even have a little progress timer right here. So you can press start and that will start a little timer. And then when you're done your gaming session, you can pause. And then over here, it'll probably say you've spent 5 seconds on this game. So that's a nice way of seeing it. Okay. And look at that. It even has ratings. Okay. So this is very similar to what I just showed you. It has the hours and it has the rating. And look at this. There's a sorting option. So if you go to sorting options here, you can say alphabetical sorting and look at that. Now it's alphabetical, just like my Excel spreadsheet. You can say ratings, sort them to my ratings. So now we're showing you the best ones at the top and the worst ones at the bottom. And then we could sort it by game time to beat. So look at that. Let's do it opposite. So up to down. So now we have the shortest games up top and the lowest games at the bottom. Okay, so very similar to mine. It has sorting of the ratings and sorting of the runtime. So if you don't like Excel spreadsheets, maybe this is a better way for you because this has nice art and it's still connected to the internet. So you can click on it and get even more information. Before we leave HowLongToBeat, I'd like to tell you guys that I started a collection for you. So if we go back here to my giant short games list, I started a collection. I added 56 short games. So it will say short games on PlayStation Plus Extra, All of Ocelot YT. So you can see all the games that I talked about today. And these are all the short games. So you have access to my Excel spreadsheet without paying a dime if you just go to HowLongToBeat and find me there. And for each game, I went extra and I added the MetaCritic rating in the little descriptions. Hopefully that will give you a good place to get started. That's less laborious than just going through the entire catalog and inputting it one by one. So if you don't want to be a member, go ahead, do it for free. You won't get my spreadsheet, but you'll still have access to the exact same thing. And we are going to officially make this public. So this is just for you guys, okay? But feel free to share it. It doesn't really benefit me, but it will benefit you. So here you go. Save. Now this is public. You have every short game that is on my list. But again, it's not the prettiest option. There is a little bit of a prettier option, and it is called Backloggd. So this is called Backloggd. This is probably the prettiest way to access your backlog. This is what it looks like. The games look just like they do on the PS Plus Extra catalog or in your library on your PlayStation. They're very nicely put together, and you could show what you're playing, what you've played, backlog, wish list even, and it's super easy to add games. For example, the pedestrian. Okay, let's go back. We could go here. What this button opens up only after you log in. Before that, this button is not there. So just click on log a game and then look up the game. The pedestrian. And just like that, it will show up. So you can say what platform you beat it on. So you could say, I played it on PlayStation 5. And a rating. You could leave a rating. So I give it a 4 out of 5. And then again, right here, completed playing backlog or wish list. So I can say completed. And then I could say something like review for other people to see. The last level was unexpected. Wow. Create a log. And that's it. If you want to go extra and be kind of like How Long to Beat, you can click on advanced and then you could put your time in here. You can say if you got the platinum in here. And you could even say how many times you've replayed the game. So after that, you just hit create log. And then you just refresh. And bam, there it is, the pedestrian. So you can click on it and it will talk about the game in a very professional way. But look at this. So now my review is part of all the reviews. So now you could read what other people who just beat the game had to say about it. Isn't that cool? That's really fun. So there you go. There's 2 options right there. Backloggd, How Long to Beat, or if you really want my Excel spreadsheet, become a member and I'll give you a link. I will update it every single month because there are games leaving and there are games coming in. So anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this video. So if you stuck around the whole way, I'm going to assume you're either a Capricorn or you're in STEM or work in IT, or maybe you just have ADHD. So thanks for sticking around, Short King. Until next time, be a friend, and I'll see you again.